It's such a common question that I receive. How do I let go of this? How do I let go of that? How do I let go of people? How do I let go of negative energy? How do I let go of negative emotions? How do I let go of stuff that's in my mind all the time that I can't let go of? It's all fundamentally the same question, which is how do I let go of old energy? Because negative emotions are really connected with old energy. It's all negative thinking that goes with that. And the thinking is essentially energy. People who are negative in your life, there's old energy all wrapped around that. And that's what we want to let go of. So it's a very, very common question, and many practices that I come across pay a lot of attention to that letting go, to the releasing part of the process. And generally speaking, I've found that that causes quite a lot of problems because it actually makes you focus on what you're letting go of. Now, the trouble with focusing on what you're letting go of is that what you focus on is what supplies you with energy, literally. So if you focus on what you want to get rid of, the energy that you're receiving is the energy of what you want to get rid of. And so there's a circle that gets established in there where you're trying to let go of some garbage, but in order to let go of it, you're actually kind of receiving it, you're reproducing it, you're creating it, or you're eating it, we can say. And so you're cycling the garbage around. And that's why methods that focus very much on letting go of stuff, where you delve into the stuff a lot, can leave people going round and round and round in circles, sometimes for years. It's like cycling around in the shit. So the general principle of letting go of old stuff is that when you pay attention to what's new, you receive new energy, fresh energy. And the fresh energy is literally like fresh water, but for the internal system. And it literally cleans in and of itself because it can't do anything else. It's not that it comes to clean you. It's just what fresh energy does. Fresh energy comes in. The fresh energy is always more evolved than the old energy. It's the future. It's not the past. And so as it comes in and establishes itself, the old energy has to move on. It's kind of let go of. And that's an automatic process. It's as automatic as digestion. And the digestive system is what I so often refer to because it's so similar that, generally speaking, we only need to pay attention to the quality of the food we eat and the way we take into the system, the way that old stuff gets expelled from the system. It happens automatically. And as long as we're eating quality food and paying attention to how we eat, so being relaxed while we eat, eating regularly, as long as we pay attention to that part, the rest of it on the whole will work well. And we don't need to focus on it. It will happen automatically. So that's the general principle, and the way to understand where to pay attention. In one way, we can judge by the way things make us feel. So quality energy always makes you feel good, and it makes you feel good in a very warm, fulfilling, satisfying, peaceful kind of way. So another way of saying that is you can read the quality by the resonance. If the resonance feels really coherent for you, we're talking about what's quality energy for you, not for somebody else. If it feels resonant for you, if it feels warm and satisfying and fulfilling, kind of optimizing for you, then that's a way of telling whether an option, something to pay attention to, is positive energy, is new energy or not. Old energy, old solutions, old ideas will never have that kind of resonance. They don't feel so satisfying, doesn't feel so optimized for you. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and he's somebody who's had a lot of experiences in his past of feeling really good. And it's interesting because he was talking about, I just need to get back to that. And I said to him in a flash, what if it's moving forward to a new version, maybe to a new level of that? And instantly his response was, oh, that feels better. And he spent a lot of energy trying to get back to old peak experiences. And that's also old energy. And it seems an obvious thing to do, but actually the new energy always brings us new peak experiences as well. Our highest experiences are new. Might be a new take, it might be an evolution. Usually it's an evolution of what you've already experienced. But if you get very caught up in trying to go back to somewhere where you've been before, you create that cycle of old energy again. And that tends to come from fear, a fear that you're never going to feel it again, or that it's not fully available to you. If you just understand that there's a new, better version, there's always more richer, greater happiness or peace or joyfulness or abundance or whatever it is, they're constantly expanding. So you don't need to go back to the old one. You can open to the new one. So that's one way of telling what is positive energy. It's that a new energy for you by the resonance of it. And so to become very tuned into the resonance is really valuable, because you start to be able to read your choices very well. And that's important. Another way, very powerful way, of course, is to tune into the source. So that's why traditionally religion has taught us to connect with God, for example. If you connect with God and your sense, your experience of God is of an entirely benign presence in your life, a presence that has no punishment, no hell, no judgment, no rejection, no possibility of rejection for you, no possible failure, no requirement from you. So if you genuinely can tune into God, that is a most profound, powerful source of positive energy. Unfortunately, and the reason why I often don't like to talk too much about God is because for so many people now, God is mixed up with fear around punishment or judgment or failure or the need to purify yourself in order to deserve a good relationship with God. And whilst there's truth behind all those stories, the truth is not about the nature of God. It's not what God is doing to you. That's more about what we do to ourselves when we shut ourselves off from that source. So if God, the notion or the sense of God, conjures up any fear in you, then or uncomfortable feelings, then you might want to look at how to connect with an equivalent source that's not so loaded, at least for a while, whilst you heal that relationship. If you have had, especially if you've had a long and a very established relationship with God. Many people that I work with maybe grew up Catholics or grew up in a religious family, and the negativity around it got to them so much in the end that they walked away. from that, but that left a great big hole in their life because it was a very powerful relationship, as it is. And so sometimes we need to give ourselves a chance to clear that relationship and bring it back into coherence, into what it should be and really is, in order to connect with that source in a way that is an entirely benign source of positive energy. When you can do that, whatever is going on in your life, like the light shines within it. So I talk about the light probably in its purest essence. The real truth about God is very similar or very close to the light. It's difficult to tell because it's such esoteric knowledge, and every word has a different vibration, and it takes, a great deal of depth to define all those distinctions. And our knowledge, our deep knowledge about spirituality is evolving very rapidly at the moment. So whatever I might say, also there are variations around it. That's why I prefer to speak in variations, so that it's accessible to all of us in our different ways. Source, Great Spirit. People talk about Great Spirit, the absolute perfection. It's a beautiful expression. It doesn't really matter. The point is that if you can tune into an unclouded source, that is like a blanket way of tuning in, let's say, to positive energy and receiving positive energy. But there's one thing that we need to be really, really aware of in this whole question about how do you let go of the old ways. The human mind has very powerful ways of suppressing uncomfortable and painful experiences. Those uncomfortable and painful experiences are essentially the releasing of old energy, but our parents don't usually know that. So they tend to suppress that kind of behavior. They tend to try to suppress the pain. Even though they sometimes cause the pain, they'll also want to suppress the pain. And our teachers don't know that, and our godparents, who possibly are the people who should have known that notionally, don't know that. And so we grow up with a very confused relationship around pain and negative emotion. And very often experiences that we have are so painful for us and so confusing that we use our mind essentially to suppress them. We bury them energetically, so we can't feel them anymore. And we shut ourselves off, literally. And when you shut yourself off from that extremely painful energy so that you can't feel it anymore, what happens is essentially you build walls around it. And at an energetic level, once those walls are firmly in place, so once you are no longer able to feel that thing, you're able to stay positive and not go there, or you're able to just not connect with it anymore. When that fresh energy flows in, it flows around the walls. And so the walls make parts of you kind of negatively sacrosanct, if you like, where it's very, very difficult for anything to penetrate. And if anything does start to get through, if there are cracks and something starts to get through, what you will tend to do is then go into really powerful action to cover over the cracks and suppress it again. And we have very clever ways of doing that. So we'll have emotions that we allow ourselves to feel so that we don't feel the really, really unpleasant ones. Shame is one of the most intolerable feelings, because when you feel shame gives you no option. Shame makes you wrong for who you are. It's absolutely intolerable because there's no way out of shame. When you're in it, if you're wrong, for being you. And you can't be somebody else. You can only be you. What can you do with that? It's an absolute no way out feeling that causes some of the worst behavior in the entire human existence. And because it's so extraordinarily painful to feel it, we develop ways to cover it over. And so you'll find people will go into passive aggression. Women especially are very good at doing this, but some men do it as well, where you never speak your truth. You never say what it is you really want, but the undertone of your energy is aggressive, and you will deny that. And you'll feel like you're being kind of very nice, but underneath there's this kind of biting energy that can come with resentment, bitterness, especially resentment and bitterness go very strongly with passive aggression. Another way that will come is depression. So you direct all the negativity towards yourself and that hopelessness that comes with shame. And it's not so much depression as withdrawal. You just completely withdraw. It tends to end up in depression. You shut yourself off from the world. You build the castle walls around all the walls you've already built. Just build a wall around all of it so that nothing can touch you. But life can't touch you either, and it's painful. You can become very aggressive. Some people become very aggressive. So you touch anywhere near their shame, and they immediately fly off the handle. You can become very angry. And anger is quite a powerful feeling. So you feel as though you're kind of in control of the world if you're angry, because you can kind of stomp all over it. And these are the ways on the whole that we cover up our shame. The thing about that is that when those walls are in place, the new energy generally is unable to clean the old energy. And so that's where work actually needs to be done, sometimes called shadow work. A lot of it in my experience, well, a lot of it is about opening your heart. There's lots of karmic stuff in there. Those are all aspects of shadow work. There are ways of helping you to open those walls up again and find your original beauty that shame has covered over. So when somebody made you feel ashamed, they were not seeing, they were not recognizing your original self, your true self, the beauty and purity of who you really are. They couldn't see it. They couldn't see it in themselves. They couldn't see it in you. And so they make you wrong for who you are at some level. And then that's where all the thoughts come in once you're there. It's a hopeless position. You have to cover it up because it's intolerable. You can't bear to feel it. So you cover it up with something that makes you feel more in control of your life, more powerful. And in the end, it becomes so fortified that positive energy it's easier for it to just flow around it. And so we get these great big walls and compartmentalizations inside ourselves. And we kind of feel positive with that because we're not feeling the negativity. You can see other people who appear to be much more negative than you. But actually, if those people are in your life, and especially when they trigger you in any way at all, when they disturb your equilibrium, if anybody's negativity ever disturbs your equilibrium, that is a sign that these kinds of walls that I've described are in place. And the just relaxing and receiving positive energy will not work on that stuff. So that's where we have to use other approaches, which are fundamentally about making it safe for you to recognize your true self. So you no longer need the walls. It heals the shame, because shame is not true. Shame is simply a lie told by people who are experiencing shame. It's a sharing of an energy that has no truth. It has no validity. It has no energy in it. It sucks all energy out of everybody who has anything to do with it. It causes only harm, only damage, nothing. There is no good that comes from it. Beneath it is the truth of who you are. And when you can allow yourself to touch into that original self, true self, and discover the truth, then you don't need the walls anymore. Because beneath the shame is such beauty, is such oneness, is such a pure expression of you. And from there, you can handle all the kind of difficult bits of your life. When you're really connected with that, you can handle the ugliness. It's funny that the ugliness and the problems are a part of it. They're part of the territory. They don't feel wrong. Once you can really face that ultimate wrongness of you, nothing else is wrong. It's part of the color and the variation. Some of it may need improving. That's fine. You can do that, because when you're really in touch with that deep inner essence of who you are, you have the power. You're connected with the true source of power, which enables you to change what needs to be changed, to flow with the new energy that's coming in, and to absorb and accept all of it rather than reject it, and to be very, very alive. So to sum all of that up, a great deal of the old energy that we experience on a regular basis gets cleaned automatically by connecting with new energy. Where you get triggered by stuff, where things seem to penetrate through the cracks of the walls that you've built, and where that energy flows around and doesn't go in, life will show you. You will probably do a lot to try to paper over the cracks again. And that's why I encourage people to, where the cracks are showing up, and they show up in terms of pain, in terms of ugliness in your life, in terms of people treating you badly, in terms of you getting triggered by stuff, hurt again and again and again, the same situation occurring again and again and again that seems really unfair, all of this kind of stuff. That's where that positive energy is actually trying to get through the cracks. But because there's so much negativity buried in there, you can only experience it as negative. But that's where something else needs to happen. I don't know, it takes lifetimes, it seems, to just do it through the just kind of letting the energy do it. And if you can be brought more directly in touch with that inner stuff, that's very beautiful process. That's what we call shadow work.